welcome back to another episode of The Daniel Taylor Show. Is it a bad name? Yeah. Do we know it is? Yes, we do. Everything was taken, and that's all we could come up with. We are only super creative sometimes. Other times, we come up with names like The Daniel Taylor Show. Do you have suggestions for a new name? Feel free to write in, message us, email us, tweet us, do whatever you want, wherever you want, and we will take it into consideration. Or maybe we won't. We can't make any promises. Today, I have way too much energy. Do not let me drink this much caffeine ever again. I have one of probably my top 10 best friends in the world, definitely in the state, who is finding newly found, how do I want to put it? Recognition.
Ooh.
You like that?
I like that.
For her wild levels of talent. The incredible, the powerful Julia Gagnon, everybody. You like it?
I love it.
Dude, it's going to be so obnoxious.
Oh, yeah.
I can't stop. Don't give me a soundboard. Julia, what's happening?
Oh my gosh. Not well, I was going to say not much, but a lot.
Yeah.
A lot is happening.
I was going to
right
correct you, so I'm glad you corrected you. Oh my God, it's a whirlwind.
It is. It is.
I said whirlwind. It's a new
Yeah.
word. Dude, I love this for you. I love this for Maine. I love this for your story. Now, full disclosure, you and I met way back. Grade school? You're like, bro, I'm not at your level today. We gotta pump the brakes. I was a judge on Central Maine Idol, to which, is it fair to say you swept the competition?
Oh my gosh. I think it didn't feel that way, but
I'm kidding. You guys are all fantastic. I love it. I just had Ashley on, and we did a deep dive. Actually, we didn't. We had an episode fail, weirdly, to which she said happens to her a lot, which thoroughly creeped me out. And she had to come back and do it again, which she's a trooper for. But the one that failed, we did talk about CMI a little more, and it was good. It was fun. But anyway, you were fantastic. You were so good, like right out of the gate. And before we went live, full disclosure, we were all talking about it and fangirling. I remember calling my wife, as she said, after tryouts day one, and I was like, this person's going to win it. I was like, there's no, like I said, unless like you fall ill or someone plays dirty, you got it. I mean, and it's like I said, I have a hard time every single year I've went back. I've not wanted to at first. Like, I don't really, it's really hard in a production sense to judge two people proficient at singing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you see this a lot because your level of acumen in music is so high that you have to be acutely aware of other people's proficiency, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, how was that for you? Or I guess now, how is it for you going into a much bigger competition? How do you like level those things in your head? How do you play that out?
It's really hard. I feel honestly when I go into things like this, CMI, American Idol, anything, I'm not really thinking in a lot of ways. Like I try to take the thinking out of it. I don't really measure anybody. I don't like one of the biggest enemies I think in competition.
Sure.
In a weird way is comparing yourself to other
Huge,
people.
right.
Even though it's a competition.
Right.
Right. You will find that everybody there is better at you than at something.
Of course. Right.
And to any degree. So I try really hard to kind of almost make it like a swim team. Like I'm only against myself.
I love this.
So that's what I do. So I guess kind of level that out in my head.
Right. You're concerned about Julia's output.
Right.
Right. Are you representing yourself well? Are you singing your best? Which, I mean, that alone is so anxiety inducing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because it's like so many things can be off, but we wake up masters someday and fools the next.
Right.
And it's like, that's music. It's not science, you know, and it's, I've heard vocalists that are my idols, and you can watch them on stage. You can almost see that they're not there. Yeah. And then you're like, maybe I'm wrong, and then you hear them not there. You're like, oh.
Right, yeah.
So it's really tough to be present and be at your peak all the time and have that demanded of you. And I think that's like, we talked briefly, I tried, as you know, to like not dive in too deep because I wanted to save it.
Yes.
But we talked really briefly about that in terms of like being on a show not self-sabotaging. Maybe let me rewind.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, my producer, who was supposed to be here, got tied up last minute. You would have loved Nate, my Nate, not your Nate. But he's a gem. I know, and people that are watching, poor Nate, he'll be back. But anyway, he keeps me on track when I'm typical me and all over the place. But we should rewind and we should say, this is coming out. Well, currently we're Tuesday, so we're 3 days after the airing of you getting. Do you want to say it or do you want me to say it?
You say it. You say it.
Okay, let me work it up. First, I got to get my gum out. And now, do you like that, Kels? She's like, no, because I have to pick it up. Okay, is this the first season with what you got?
No, it's been three
seasons. Let me get. Where's my air horns? Okay. You are looking at a receiver. Don't eat my gum, Bubba. My dog's like, Dad, is that for me? You are looking at, dude, this is all over the place. And it's okay. I love it. A recipient of a platinum ticket. I love how you just waited. You're like, you go first.
I know it's coming.
Yeah, dude, I'm so pumped for you. I can't even say. So explain to me and the people that might not be familiar with the setup of the show. Like I said, I remember golden tickets. Yep. What is a platinum?
So the golden tickets are still there. That is the majority of the tickets given to go to Hollywood.
Oh, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like the current, like that's the currency that gets you to Hollywood.
I dig it.
And traditionally, just in past seasons, there's 3 rounds in Hollywood.
Okay.
And that gets you to the next one in Hollywood. The platinum makes you immune to the first round of Hollywood week.
Oh, so you can't be voted off.
Exactly.
I love this.
Yeah.
Not that you really needed to worry.
No, well.
Well, hold on. So this is my next question, and we'll dive into how you're dealing with, as a person, all of this excitement. But as a performer, are you worried?
Well, yeah, I think so. With the platinum ticket, there comes a lot of humility, and
sure,
like you're just like, you got to sit in the room and see all the talent.
Right.
I got to see I got to hear them.
Yeah.
Warm up, sing with them.
Right.
I know who I was with.
Yeah.
And to be kind of elevated above them just technically.
Right.
It's a lot of pressure because
sure.
I think we're all our worst critics, right?
Oh, of course.
I never would have imagined this for myself.
I love this about you, by the way.
Thank you. And I think my fellow platinum tickets feel the same way.
I love that. I love the level of humility. And I say this a lot as a producer to singers, where I get burnt out sometimes. We all do, like making records and working with performers. Because I think a lot of my idols that sing, I think you can know without, beyond a reasonable doubt, that there was definitely a lot of imposter syndrome. There was definitely a lot of saying they were self-critical is probably being nice.
Right.
Because I feel like you hear like a vocalist like Whitney, and then you see the way her life plays out, and she didn't think she was great.
Right.
And I know this is kind of morbid, because the way that what it does to you is unfortunate, but sadly we benefit from that, because it's like, if you think you're great, you're done. There's no need to get better.
Yeah.
You're great.
Yeah.
So there is some level of importance to like harsh self-criticism, as long as you're good about dialing it in.
Right.
So how much, like, in Julia's head, how self-critical are you?
So the reality of how self-critical I am, I've gotten better.
Yeah.
I think for a really long time I was really critical of myself, and that it honestly, I don't think it even had to do with music in a sense. I think music is so vulnerable, and it's like a taste of your soul that you're giving to people. And so I think I was critical of myself, just like myself. I grew up with a lot of bullying. I grew up really not wanting to be the center of attention.
Sure.
So
you picked a great profession.
Yeah. No.
You're like, bro.
I think that's where a lot of it came. I mean, when I did CMI, I was like, you could literally see that that's what I was going through. Like, that was the arc of like kind of pulling me out of that.
Yeah.
For the first time.
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not critical enough to make me stop.
Sure.
So, I think I try to give myself kind of constructive notes in my head, and even when even when it feels like, oh, that that was just so bad. I really need to. I'm able now to talk myself out of that and be like, okay, well,
right, like not spiral,
right,
but learn from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your self inventory's stern enough that you're like, I'm gonna take these notes and I'm gonna check them off. Like I'm gonna do the work, but I'm not gonna let them ruin a week because of something you thought was.
I try not to.
Yeah.
I don't want to be fake and say that I mean, sometimes.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, sometimes I do have a performance where I'm like, that just sucked.
Right.
Like,
You're not totally unaffected by it.
That was, yeah.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think a lot of it doesn't come from, I'm a perfectionist.
Sure.
I've always been a perfectionist. When I started singing, there isn't a performance recorded, perhaps even done, of me having a voice crack or anything like that.
Never. Oh, you've never had one?
I won't let myself.
Oh, I thought you said there's always been one.
No,
gotcha.
Never.
You're right. You're just not gonna. It's surprising.
I don't let myself.
It's surprising you being scared. Are you worried it's gonna happen?
No, honestly, I trust myself enough at this point because I'm like, I just won't do it.
Okay.
But the point that I'm making with that is there's not usually a technical mistake that I make. It's usually how I feel about it afterwards. I could have done more with that. Oh, I don't think I was singing from the place where I really like to sing from. Or, a handful of just things that only I would notice.
Of course.
So that's where the grounding technique comes in. That's what I try to do with myself because I know that nobody else is looking at that performance under a magnifying glass.
Of course. And that's so right. Your self-criticism it's not because of a mistake. It's I can do better.
Yeah.
I could have delivered this better.
Definitely. Yeah.
And I think that was really clear too. I grew up with a lot of manipulation, so I'm very vigilant on like watching for it. Mm-hmm. And your arc over just CMI, which is so, small potatoes against American Idol. And it's like your arc and watching your reaction to the audience's reaction to you was so humbling. And it was a lesson for me too, personally, and like be in the moment, be there, be vulnerable, be willing to take on people, and live it. It's life. And it's like, man, I mean, because you dealt with some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of it undue too. It's like, it's humbling. I don't know that I could have done that. And it's,
Oh,
I'll give you one. Not the crowd because I'm lazy, but and I forget. I got to keep this up. I'm gonna play one. It's gonna be silent. No, but seriously, it's like watching. Like you're good, and it's like you end this thing. Like we got accused as judges of starting standing ovations, which is hilarious because we have a rear view camera and you can see. I mean, I don't remember starting any standing ovations, but then again, I was very much in the moment.
Right.
Our reactions were genuine. I'm not going to stand when a performance moves me to the point of getting on my feet. Mm-hmm. I work with music every day. I'm jaded at times to the point where it's kind of hard to give me goosebumps because it's just work a lot of the time. Yeah. If I'm going to stand up because I can't sit because your performance moved me to that, I'm going to do it.
Aww.
Or fire me. It's like, come on, you want us to be real.
Right.
And that's just what it was. But understandably, people aren't really accustomed to having their loved ones held up under, like you said, a magnifying glass.
Right.
And like, we're kind of, our job is to look at it under a magnifying glass. Be like, you messed up here, you messed up there. Mm-hmm. And balancing that is tough with other contestants, but I really don't feel like, did any of the core judges, me, Laura, or Nikki, the originals, or Teresa, I guess that doesn't matter who, did any of us give you, other than guest judges, none of us gave you constructive criticism?
Not to my face. I mean, I would watch the videos.
Was there in the video?
There wasn't. It was. Yeah, I mean, I got some.
Really?
I wouldn't say it was criticism. I got notes.
Okay.
Nearer to the end.
Okay.
And thank God, because I mean, it's actually I need that because
really,
well, like we just talked about, I never think that a performance was perfect.
Right.
Never. So I'm always looking for like, okay, what can I? Because in my mind, no matter how many people tell me, "Oh, you were gonna win," never believed it. I mean, if you
Right.
if you ask Nate, never believed it, never. And
No.
it wasn't even like a self-criticism thing at that point. It was that I, again, like in Idol,
Right.
I knew my competition,
Right.
and I thought that they were very good.
Yeah,
and
they were.
So I really appreciated finally. I think some of the notes were like more stage presence, like don't be.
I remember that.
As
Yeah,
theater,
I remember that.
Stand and sing, and it was mostly about genre. Don't be too theatery.
Which yeah.
But it was helpful because
Right.
I mean it doesn't matter necessarily, and this goes for all the contestants. I think all the contestants knew this by the end very much, that it didn't matter if you agreed.
Sure.
It was, I mean, if you're hearing, I mean, it's a privilege and lucky to get feedback from the people that are judging you.
I agree. I've always thought that, even for myself, because again, I'm, as my wife could attest, unrelentingly self-critical to the point where it affects me every day. It's bad. I don't have, like, you clearly have a much better hold on where you stop, where that threshold is. And like, okay, now we're not being constructive, we're being destructive, and this is not helping. Right. I am still learning that. But I agree. I think that having affirmations, right, of the people that are holding you accountable, so to speak, is good because, right, it makes you feel like you're not crazy. And like there is that level of people placating you and they're like, oh, you're the best, where it's like, if you want feedback on what you're not seeing, you can't get it. Right. If everyone's just like, oh, you're the best singer I've ever met.
Right. And that's why, and
you might be, by the way.
Stop.
Queen.
Shut up.
Okay.
That's why is like, that is why I liked competition. That is why I guess sought out American Idol after CMI.
Right.
Was because, I mean, performances are one thing and I love performing.
Clearly.
But I love getting better and I love learning. And I did feel like I learned during CMI, even if it wasn't necessarily what I expected to learn.
Sure.
I mean, I think talent-wise or just technically wise, I did a lot of the work in between CMI and American Idol on myself.
Sure.
I don't think it really came from any of the comments or anything, but what did come was how to handle a competition and how a competition is much different than performing for fun.
Absolutely. I'm so glad I didn't interrupt because I was going to ask you this, literally. It was that, like, were there things you learned outside of music? And that is one. It's like understanding a production and knowing the goal.
I think that's almost all of what I learned from CMI.
Yeah,
but I don't think, if I hadn't learned it, I don't think I would have gone to American Idol.
And again, I'm glad I didn't interrupt. My next question was, if you hadn't won, do you think you would have done American Idol?
If I hadn't, I think I probably still would have done it.
Okay. But if you hadn't done the show, if you hadn't done CMI.
If I hadn't done CMI, I don't think I would have done it, just because it wouldn't have been on my radar.
Sure.
I think in CMI there was a lot of things I could have done better for me. Not necessarily, I mean, like, the audience only sees the performance, right? And then
of course.
I mean, we were prepping all week. I mean, again, Nate can attest, my fiance. I was destroying myself. It literally, we would perform, and then Monday I would be just like, my stomach would be like torn apart.
Ooh.
Nervous about what I'm going to do next.
The day after she killed it, her stomach's torn apart.
I never had time to think about how I killed it.
Yeah.
That is one big thing that I did not take with me to American Idol, thankfully.
Sure.
Like after my audition, it started to creep in. I wasn't sure. I mean, even with the platinum ticket, that didn't mean to me necessarily, oh, you perfected that. And I didn't. I mean, there were things like, you don't get to warm up between that or before that. I mean, like, it was scary.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
That song is huge.
Yeah.
And not being able to warm up before it, very scary.
Yeah, but, of course.
Learning from CMI, I took that night to be like, okay, worry about it tomorrow or the next day or the next day. You killed it.
Yeah.
So that's an important lesson I learned from.
Yeah, and I mean, there's got to be a point, right, where the feedback you're getting from people, because I mean, imagine, I'm trying to think as a performer, not nearly to your caliber, but in general, how much the self-talk, right? How much the monkey mind would quiet down if Katy Perry was freaking out about what I just did, or Luke Bryan or Lionel. It's like, I mean, that's pretty telling, It's like there's not much you can say to yourself on the ride back from that. You know what I mean? So how much of that did you take as like, this is real, this is me, I mean, this is okay, all of the questions are answered.
Yeah.
Or do you have any? It's like, because you've always been good. That's the thing, is it's like so we were, complete segue, but we were introduced, or you were put on our radar by Isabel.
Yeah.
Love her, by the way. And she's like, you guys don't even know.
I love
And I was like, okay, I can't wait. And boy, did we not know. But the point is, like, she's good. And it's like, that's her genuine take on you. So it's like, clearly this has mostly been the feedback you've always gotten. Yeah. So do you have a lot of that self-talk, like beyond criticism, or does it stop at like stuff like you said from childhood, like you were bullied? Yeah. Me too. Very young. I had these like huge Coke bottle glasses that my contacts are like +8. So you can imagine how thick, dude. It was ridiculous. And then I was an angry teen because I'm like, no one's going to pick,
I was an angry kid. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So is that really where it stems for you? It's like a self-image thing from the trauma.
Yeah. I mean, so adopted.
Yep.
So that is one thing that I came to the States with, just already kind of a predestined issue.
And how old were you?
I came to the States when I was 2 or 3. I don't actually know. I had tuberculosis, so it was kind of like, it was kind of dicey. But not to the extent where I remembered Guatemala or birth family or anything like that.
Right.
But, I mean, adopted kids are predestined for an issue.
Sure.
Always. It doesn't matter how happy you are. It doesn't matter. And that's a really hard thing, I think, amongst the community that we try not to talk about, because a lot of punchline jokes are like, oh, you're a problem, or you were a problem, and that's why you were given up. That's a lot of the punchline jokes. So to like lean into that and be kind of like, yeah, I mean, it's hard.
I just found myself accidentally squeezing this because I was upset for you.
But I went through, the bullying that I went through lasted from when I was 4 or 5 to like college.
College?
Yeah. I mean, and it was different. It was different flavors
of course.
Of bullying. When I was a kid, it was definitely ignorance.
Right. And very in your face.
Yeah.
Right. Then it gets catty as you get older and hidden.
Yeah. I had a friend. That's the other thing that confused me a lot, I think, and made me how I am, or made the wall that I had to break down.
Sure.
These people were friends, and it was difficult for me because there were times where I did consider them friends, and then they would say stuff like that, and I'd be like, what? I don't understand. One of my earliest memories, it was kindergarten, and I had a kid come up to me, and she wiped my skin, like kind of like wiped my arm. She was like, why are you dirty?
Oh, man.
Covered in dirt. And honestly, when I was that young, I had no idea what she meant.
Oh.
And it really took a while to remember and unpack all of those little kind of memories. And then in high school, when you're unpacking the memories, middle school and high school, you have other kids that are, of course, going through their own thing, I'm sure.
Of course.
They're like, oh, you have a white family and money, so you're fine. Like, you didn't go through that. Like, just stop complaining.
Yeah.
So then you're dealing with that.
Right.
And then in college, I finally decided to kind of start over. And that, I think, took power away from a lot of the people who liked to kind of kick me when they felt down.
Sure.
And so I dealt with them in college, too. Like, I dealt with that frustration. I've dealt with it all my life.
Yeah.
So kind of the roundabout way that came into my life was I was able to break down the wall with music, and that was really great. I started having more confidence in myself, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And obviously when you're a performer, criticism comes with that, constructive or not.
Right.
And praise is going to come with that too.
Right. So you're always balancing the scale.
You're always balancing the scale. I think for a really long time as a kid, I didn't have the praise though.
Right.
So even, I mean, I'm my own worst critic.
Sure.
And that's not to say that maybe technically I am, because everybody gets hate. Everybody, it's just
no
like,
one's immune from it.
It's inevitable.
Exactly.
But I don't let it. Oh,
he's such a baby.
Oh my gosh. I never let it get to me, especially when it came to music, because music is very sacred to me.
Yeah, and I had so many things I wanted to ask you, but this is so important. I'm not going to forget this. But it's very in vogue right now to say, hurt people, which is true. It is true, which is why it's very in vogue and everyone says it. But it still has ramifications, right? And it's tough to, as someone that was bullied, my bullying stopped very abruptly. I got contacts in middle school, became the cool kid that skated and played music. So I got an early identity, which not a lot of people get, which was, I'm privileged and blessed that happened, because I'm sure things would be different if it didn't. Right. But these things hurt and they stay with you. And I'm a huge advocate of mental health. I've struggled with it my entire life. And, people have this weird perception of trauma where they feel guilt, like, I didn't go to war. How dare I? And it's like, well, there is such a thing called death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
And these things build up. And just because you hide the scars well,
right,
doesn't mean they're not there.
Yeah.
So how much was music a superpower for you, right? Because this is what I keep trying to grasp with you, right? Put my finger on, is like, you're using music so much more than just singing. And I don't know if I've ever said it like that to you, but we were texting briefly last night about some of your songs, and you can hear that, right?
Yes.
There's more to it. Even than the lyrical content, like whatever story it is you're telling, there's rich undertones. There's an arc in there. Seriously, I'm not pandering. I mean that wholeheartedly. So how much have you used that? Like when you're holding this context up between like viciously being bullied and not, how much do you use, like, I'm safe, I have my identity, I'm proficient in what I do. How much does that save you?
So honestly, kind of how you were talking about, like, the comparison war and trauma, which is again also inevitable. I also had the privilege of college 2020. It was COVID.
You were going through college during COVID?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I used TikTok to start posting music and really started coming out of my shell. Because, I mean, even when I sang at, like, concerts in high school, I was like, whatever. Like, I don't. I was still with those. I was still intertwined with those people who made me feel awful about myself. So I just didn't. I mean, like, I knew that. And it was weird because they could all collectively agree on the fact that I was a good singer.
Right.
And that was a little weird for me, but
so it was kind of like, she's a good singer, we'll give her that. But
I mean, the attacks never were straight to my face. I mean, it was just really weird. It was they just really invalidated what I'd gone through, on the fact that I was adopted and that my adopted family seemed good, and my adopted family is good. I mean, like, that's not to say that they aren't, but they saw that we had a big house and that they were white, and that's how my life was. Even though, like, my house wasn't even, like, huge,
but to them, they just, like, expected that, like, listen, this negates anything.
Literally,
that's
they
ridiculous.
Like, I mean, I don't know where they expected me to live, but I
right.
But kind of like you, I guess I had the privilege of, like, harnessing music as a therapy, as a power, as a way to kind of prove to them, myself, okay, at least I have this to offer,
and to you probably. I mean, there's an immense amount of self-worth that comes with
but now, and this is kind of where I'm getting into, like, the original music stuff, college, CMI, Idol, I've obtained different people. I won't call them fans because that makes me, I don't like that word.
I've never liked it, but they're your fans.
My friends.
It's all your friends.
Yes. I've gotten a lot of messages from people that were adopted, that are brown, that are black, that are bullied. And they kind of have this same, like, a comparison aspect.
Sure.
Like, oh, like, I went through that too, but not as bad as you, not as bad as you. And immediately I'm like, no, stop.
Right. We don't compare.
Probably feel the same way about it.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah.
And when I started having more conversations like that, and I think they started in college too, because there's just, I mean, we're in Maine. There's not many people who look like me. So
right.
when I went to college, that was kind of a culture shock, and I had more of those conversations. That's when I started to think and really exercise music as a way to not only, you know, write out the words of what we went through, but try to express in my voice, in
non-verbally, right,
in the music, in
right,
like whatever the tempo, the sound,
sure,
what it felt like. And
yeah,
I think for a lot of them in the beginning, that was like, unfortunately, like the sound of pain or the sound of anger or the sound of overcoming.
Right.
And I tried to focus more of the music about overcoming things, because I think a lot of music right now is very down, 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 and there's no up.
I couldn't agree more. But I also do think, yeah, you're totally entitled, and music becomes this safe space, right, for a neutral ground for expressing emotion in terms of like, you're not, you know, if you want to express anger, no better place than music if you need to, right? Because it's benign, you know, it's not going to hurt anybody unless you're like calling people out,
right?
You know, it's like, or if you need to express, you know, being sad or being worthless, you can. But I also love that you decide, like you just said, to like, well, you can't, you're not just that. You're this multifaceted being that also has stories of triumph and in success. And I love that you like consciously put that in. That's cool.
And like, I guess that in a way, to answer your question, is I don't necessarily, I mean, I do it for me, but I think when I'm writing out that music, I could not release it and I would probably gain what I gain from it.
Yeah.
The reason I perform and the reason I release music and I write music to be released is because of other people feeling the way that I do.
Sure.
And did. Yep. And I don't think I had that when I was a kid. So that's why I use it. And it's not necessarily, the consumption of my music isn't not necessarily for me.
Right. And I couldn't agree more. Like, I remember finding, are you familiar with the Counting Crows? Oh, I remember when I stumbled on August and Everything After when I was just a wee lad. And it wasn't that Adam made me feel better, right? He didn't give any messages of like, here's how you deal with it, right? It wasn't a self-help album.
Yeah.
But to know I wasn't alone.
Yeah.
To know like, oh, it's okay to be out of your mind. And like, you know, it's like, that's all right. Just that feeling of community, even silently. Totally. I've benefited. So I bet that's, you know, insanely powerful to like, I can't pretend to understand what you've been through. You know, I'm sure it's crazy. You know, I'm sure there's parts of it that still affect you, I would imagine. Yeah. I mean, I remember you telling me, not to segue deeper in, but your biological mother was going through trouble recently. She was sick.
Yeah, she fell down the stairs and has broken bones in her legs.
Is she better now? Like how long ago?
She fell probably by now a year and a half ago.
Oh.
But the healthcare in Guatemala is awful. So she never really got the help that she needed.
Sure.
I mean, I was able to raise some money recently for her to get the procedure that she needed.
Do you is there still an active GoFundMe we could plug?
Yeah.
Then make sure you tell Kelsey. Yeah, hey, anything helps.
Anything helps.
I've had friends. I was in Nantucket a lot growing up. Have family there, distant family. But a lot of the kids, believe it or not, you want to talk about well off. I mean, Nantucket, it's insane. And you'd be surprised how many of those kids went on trips to Guatemala to help.
Yeah.
It's really, really enlightening.
It's rough there. And because, I mean, you got over the hump of the operation, which was a big problem, but now you have the post-op.
And she did the operation there?
Yeah, she did the operation there. I mean, they don't have, well, I don't even pretend to know the extent of their situation. I know it's not good.
Right.
But we were able to get the operation, so that was kind of one step. So she's doing better.
Good.
I think. Maybe.
Well, right. Fingers crossed.
As good as she can be.
Sure. And you've met her?
I've never met her in person. We found her in 2020 via a private investigator.
Oh, okay.
And then they like WhatsApp and
okay, right. For international, right.
Yeah.
And does this make you uncomfortable to talk about?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I've talked about it so much.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because I'm like, I have a knack for like digging.
No, you're good.
I just want, yeah, I like to try. It's so funny because I'm like so ill-equipped to help anyone with like emotional, mental stuff, but I'm always trying.
Yeah,
I love people. I don't want people to feel sad because I know how it is and it's awful.
Yeah.
How was finding mom?
It was interesting. So
Okay.
I talked about it recently, another podcast about Guatemalan adoptees.
Oh, okay.
Specifically.
Okay.
And that was really awesome. And I guess I'll kind of reiterate the fact that I spent 18 years not knowing anything about her.
Right.
And at 18, I was doing pretty well.
Sure.
There was no, like, as a kid, like I mentioned, like really, really early on, I was an angry kid. I was I didn't handle it very well. I just didn't know how to express it.
You were a kid.
Yeah. And I made my parents, unfortunately, well, they chose to be my parents, but they had to go through it, and they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what was wrong. I now know that it like my whole existence felt at the time like its foundation was being given up.
Sure.
That was really difficult. But around high school, I was dealing with kind of other people saying that about me. So I'm a stubborn person. That is one thing that I think lots of people don't necessarily know about me.
I would not assume.
I come off very smiley, and I am. But
I think it might be the first time in the podcast your fiance did this. That was my favorite part of today.
I'm very stubborn. And I guess once I started to get naysayers, I was like, okay, I'm over that. I'm moving on from that. I'm not gonna think that about myself anymore.
Bitch, bye.
Literally. So when I did go to my dad, that was actually probably the hardest part of the whole thing.
Okay.
Because I was like, I'm never gonna stop wondering. It's not like I need her, because I didn't and I don't.
Sure.
She is essentially a stranger to me. That is
of course
something that's important to know.
But you're entitled to your discovery.
I was wondering. I always would have wondered about it. So I went to him with that, and he didn't tell me that he was looking for her. It was like a year went by, and then he told me that they had given up, and then they had found her, like right as they were giving up.
That's weird. Yeah. That's really cool.
And honestly, that was probably a sign that I was ready, to be honest. I mean, like,
I like that.
I got the letter, I got a picture of her, and I think I took the letter and I went into my room, and I think I just I just looked at it and I just kind of processed, because you're prepared for the worst. You're like, oh, she's dead, or like, oh, they didn't want me. And I did deal with some of that. My birth dad didn't want anything to do with me. He hated me. He was the reason that she gave me up. Oof. Because he thought that it would be a waste of time, money, resources to raise a girl.
Right.
And he was like, no, give her up.
Right.
So I did go through kind of some of the worst case scenarios with finding her and finding them. But it was something that needed to happen. And I don't know, I felt really privileged and almost a little bit guilty finding her, because I kind of had taken myself out of the group of Guatemalan adoptees, of any adoptee that will never know.
Right.
And that I had spent so many years.
I wouldn't have even this is why I love being inquisitive.
Yeah.
I would have never known that.
Yeah.
And right, because that must be such a strong identity and group for support.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, there must be a part of you, because you're a good person, that kind of feels. Did you feel guilty?
Yeah.
Because
I did, and I think I still, like, on that podcast specifically, I was talking about it, and then I think she asked me, like, do you have anything else to say? And I was like, yeah, I do. And I said, and I'll say again, because I know that I have a lot of adoptees that I'm really grateful that follow me now. I spent 18 years of my life like that. And I spent, 3 knowing what she looks like.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I know about her. I mean, she still, hits me in the gut when, like, she talks to me.
Sure.
And when I see her. But I could have kept going without her.
Right.
And, I mean, I still do. And she's not, I text her maybe like twice a month.
Yeah.
And that's an important part of me that has not changed, is that I grew up without her and
Sure.
I did not know. And anybody who is going through that or went through that or is thinking about finding their birth parents, but they're just kind of like scared.
Yeah.
It's like all of the paths, all of the above is like completely valid when it comes to the situation.
So your advice would be that stepping into a new part of your story doesn't abandon the last part.
100%.
Right. I think that's really powerful because it's not one of these things, at least from the outside, from what I'm getting, that it's either or, you know?
Yeah.
And I get how it's probably hard to deal with mentally to be like, right, like you said, I self-identify with this group that I love and adore, and it's been helpful, and I feel like I kind of abandoned them. You know, you didn't. But wrestling that, I'm sure, was a nightmare. Did you get what you were looking for? Do you think to you, in a vacuum, it was worthwhile?
This is funny, because adoptees will know exactly. Honestly, what I wanted was not that deep. I wanted to see somebody who looked like me.
Oh, really?
And, you know, I guess from an outside perspective, that is deep, and that does like kind of like, oh man, but like, we live with it. It was life. Like it was just like. By the time you're 18, it has to be a little bit funny. Like it's just like I just wanted to see somebody with my nose.
It is kind of funny.
So I did get what I needed, and I think on a more in-depth way, I got the closure that I needed from like, okay, why did you give me up? Why did that have to happen?
But visuals I get that, they're our strongest sense. It's like if you can see someone, I know it's right from the outside, it's like I just wanted to see if they look like me, but. That's you.
Right.
That's your blood. That's where you come from. That's who you are. But it doesn't define you.
Right.
Because I will say I met your parents briefly when you were like, I think it was post-show. We were in the what they use for a green room.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to talk to them much, but they seem like absolute sweethearts.
They're perfect.
Yeah. and how blessed and lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
seriously. I mean, that is one thing that like. As you saw on my audition, that is the only thing that gets me choked up or emotional is my parents, because I get nervous that like with this story being my story, and is that people won't understand that they are my parents. And like when Luke Bryan said, "What's your real mom's name?" You know, like Luke asked me that. He said, you know,
that got me.
What's your real mom's name? I was like, I just like completely lost it.
Yeah.
Like that meant everything to me.
Sure.
That happened. And that they recognized and validated that so much, because that is the only thing I was anxious about story-wise.
Yeah, sure.
Me.
And it doesn't show from the outside. It was incredible. It was incredible. And you held yourself very well. And you, like I said, you're genuinely that person. You know what I mean? So to see it on screen is incredible, because some people, it doesn't translate well, you know?
Yeah.
Or it can come off phoned in, or like it doesn't for you.
Okay.
And I know that's a big thing because of what you tell me. You're like, oh no. You know, it's like, no, you're you, and it permeates. And I think that's what's going to carry you, is it's like your talent is completely undeniable. Like, and it's funny because here we are 44 minutes in, and we've talked less about music than other things. And it's like, but it, to me, I don't even know that it's wildly interesting. Your level of talent is crazy, but it's like, that opens many doors. But like that mindset, the level of your appreciation, the level of your self-understanding, your level of empathy and sympathy, like that's going to carry you through. That's the thing that people fall in love with the girl and not just the music, you know?
Yeah, I completely understand that. I was told that a lot, just kind of leading up to the audition, like, oh, I remember I was sitting with friends. They did not make it, but they were amazing. They were so great.
Yeah, I love this.
Like the people that you got close with. And they said the same thing. They were like, you know, we think you're going to go far, and it's not because you can sing, because everybody in this room can sing.
Exactly.
And it's because you're really genuine. You're a genuine person. And I was really appreciative of that, because for I don't know, for a really long time I wasn't. And it's not like I was
same
like, fake, and I was like, but I mean, I spent a lot of my life trying to not be me because it was easier to
Girl,
blend in.
I need like a, you know what? Let's just do this. It's okay.
Another one.
Yeah, Khaled, give it to us, baby. But no, I could not agree more. And it's like, here I am 32, just figuring out how to be a person. You know, I mean, and that's, you know, we're discrediting both of us, a lot of the self-work we did, and we were us always. But it's like, no, when you go through hard things and you come out the other side, you are kind of confronted with the ways that you were hiding.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you find yourself at least personally, in a mad dash to fill in those blanks in a way that's real. And that's tough. Yeah. That level of self-work is tough.
Yeah.
It's so, I do want to segue a little bit back to American Idol, because I feel like some of the people coming to see this are probably going to be because of the show.
Yeah.
And again, I think I care more about Julia as a person, which it's so funny because I never write anything down. I never prep anything because I just want to be real. I just want to talk with you.
I love that.
And it's so funny because last night, like, every question I had in my head was music. And I just want to know, like, how you're navigating the world of this meteoric rise, right, to this small town girl with like big town talent, all of a sudden internationally recognized for it. There was no prepping someone for that. None.
No.
So how, especially with your past, are you dealing with, let me ask you straight up, are people coming out of the woodworks?
100%. Yes.
I haven't used this enough this episode. People are like, what are you doing, bro?
What's happening?
So you are dealing with it.
Yeah.
How are you handling it?
Yes.
Girl, give it to me.
People definitely come out of the woodworks for this before the audition. I mean, the promos.
Really?
Like they saw me on TV and suddenly a DM from somebody I haven't spoken to since elementary school. Suddenly congratulations from people that rack my memory in not great ways.
Let the record state that we wanted Julia on the podcast since CMI. So, okay, and continue.
And yeah, I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
I think I was, again, honestly, I really do think that I got some practice in high school in CMI.
Sure.
I mean, I spent, again, a long time of my life fitting in with people that were not good for me.
So it's kind of par for the course.
Fronting, yeah.
Okay.
And I have dealt with it.
Sure.
In the past for much more minor things.
Of course.
With less people.
And probably less clarity of mind because you seem pretty dialed in.
Yeah. And honestly, I take it as a compliment.
Okay.
It's kind of like, I don't know what you want me to do for you in a lot of ways that I think the people that come out of the woodworks the most, specifically for me, because a lot of people know me. The people who know that they have had a long-term effect on me in a negative way. They knew me.
Sure.
They know that I'm a stubborn person. They know that I'm not going to forget. I don't forget. I have never forgotten. I remember everything.
Right. Right. I forget their knowledge of you is much deeper.
Yeah.
They're not going to forget the girl that, right.
They know that I, as I got older, really spoke it from the heart. And I called people out.
So your patience level got to listen.
I wasn't mean.
Sure.
But I would stand up for myself nearer to the end of high school. And those people know who they are. Those people are here in my DMs. And I just kind of feel the emotions that I have towards it is, what do you want me to do for you?
Dude, this is a masterclass in realizing how little I should interrupt. I was just going to ask you, if people that are in your DMs are watching this, what would you say? That's a perfect message, right?
That's how I feel. I mean, if people, the people that reach out to me, the people that front with me since Idol, or finding out that I was on Idol, I understand that they feel guilty from some degree or another, right. Whether it's something that they thought about me or something that they said to me, and anywhere in between. I understand that they want now my validation that it's fine, it's okay,
right?
Yeah, we're friends now.
Do you take it on the chin a little as to, like, it's almost a half-ass apology in a way, or at least they're like trying to show the soft underbelly?
Honestly, no.
No? Okay. Girl.
But that's not to say that I hold hostility for them anymore.
Sure.
I've kind of taken the people out of the equation in a lot of ways.
Right. They don't live in your mind.
I remember what was said to me.
Sure.
I remember everything, kind of like as I said, but I understand also that I have changed a lot since those things happened. Even since CMI, I've changed a lot. So for me to hold those people in my mind rent free doesn't make sense.
Right.
So when they reach out to me, I'm like, hi. And
right.
I'm like, oh, there's like, hey. I'm like, hi. Congrats on Idol.
You're like,
Thanks.
I bet they won't expect this. What's up?
Thanks. I mean, it's like, all right, thank you.
Yeah.
But, you know, unless somebody, and I haven't gotten any of these like kind of half-assed apologies, but unless somebody were to bring it up, I really don't care.
Right. You've dealt with your end. It doesn't matter.
It's like I don't feel the need to validate you in the way that you want to be right now.
Sure.
But I'm not gonna be an asshole. I mean, it's like
Yeah. There is something though, like in therapy, I remember like a big point of specifically the things I struggled with was even if you've done the work and you feel like you're more dialed, right, to certain things that you used to deal with, there's always a part of you that was the kid that wanted the praise. You know what I mean? Even if your ego's like really well placed.
Yeah.
I've dealt with this a lot. And again, like I didn't do something as big as a national American Idol show, but being from Maine, especially where I'm from in Maine, it's such a small area that if you do anything kind of cool, it's a big deal because not a lot happens in this state, never mind the town. So I had to deal with that too. I found myself really reveling in the praise because I yearned for it when I was younger and not as well adjusted.
Right.
So learning to like, and honestly, candidly, I wasn't that good about it for a while. Since I've gotten much, much better and I know where to place it, but it is a bitch. Like you hold yourself so well. I forget you're 21, dude. That's young. Yeah. That's young. Like to be where your mind is right now and deal with it like you are. One, I'm impressed.
Thank you.
But two, I am not unaware that it is challenging.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. I think interestingly enough, I didn't necessarily search for praise ever. I won't say that pretend like I'm like some like humble machine.
Sure.
But what I wanted was nothing.
Right.
I hated the attention because I got a lot of attention when I was in school.
Sure.
I hated it.
Right.
Because a lot of it was kind of like backhanded.
Right. You can't control if it's good or bad attention, so you want none of it.
And I got some good too. I mean, like it was fine. It was a balance, and I think a lot of people, it's important to recognize not everybody deals with a balance in high school. Lots of people have like great high school years. I mean, it was a balance for me. But I didn't want any of it.
Right.
I just wanted to be like nobody. I just wanted to call with my friends and play video games with them and then go to bed.
I love
it. And then repeat. And I never got it because they didn't really like me. I don't want to
detract from this point because it's so important, but what video games?
Oh my gosh.
Dude, I'm such a nerd, please.
Oh my gosh. I loved Skyrim.
Skyrim's dope. I loved
Assassin's Creed.
I love Assassin's Creed.
I love Assassin's Creed.
Do you know how long it took me to platinum Assassin's Creed Valhalla?
How long?
Do you want to know?
Yeah, I do.
115 hours.
Oh my God.
Dude, and I did it, didn't I?
You did.
Dude, finding Thor's Mjolnir in the mountains in the middle of nowhere with no fast travel, nightmare.
But that's like I never got it.
Sure.
So when the praise comes, when the woodworks come, out of the woods. I think that's why I handle it well.
Sure.
Is because I never wanted it in the first place. If you're gonna talk to me, okay, hi.
Bro, you just taught me something and I love it.
I never desired that. I mean, if you want to invite me in Discord and play video games, maybe that would stroke my ego a little bit. But
I can't wait. We're playing. Do you guys play Fortnite?
Yeah.
Me and Nate are totally playing Fortnite. 100%. I can't wait. Call of Duty? No. Yes! Oh my God, I'm so excited. No one my age plays anymore. All my friends are like, bro, I have a life. You know, and I'm like, I don't.
You're not that old. Please.
I know.
You're not old.
I feel old.
Oh, I feel old too. So.
I know, dude. Old before our time. That's what happens. You have to deal with it.
I threw my back out the other day too.
I'm wearing a brace.
Oh.
Yeah, I threw my back out. I'm like, I'm gonna go in the gym and lift like I never left. Big mistake. So all the serious stuff aside, this is a huge moment for you that is not missed on me. It's what you deserve. So like a part of me keeps wanting to say, I can't believe it's happening for you, but I can. Like, you know, you're just,
That's so nice.
No, but I'm serious. Like it is, but it's also just true. It's like, if you're in front of the right people, it's a no-brainer, which is like, I was really impressed with your level of know-how. I got you a gift. I have it next to me.
What?
It's a great segue, because I was about to say I'm really impressed with your level at 21 of know-how about the game, never having, I swear to God, that was my dog, not my rear end. That over the mics. Did you hear that? That was like Foley. I might pull that out as a sound clip. That was crazy. But your level at 21, because like a lot of your musical history comes from like theater.
Mm-hmm.
So like to know some of the stuff that you've already explained to me about the industry is pretty dope.
Yeah.
You're young for that. Like, so, you know, I think I've used this before, but I end every show with questions, and this was going to be my answer. Have you ever heard of this book?
No.
This book single-handedly changed my life. It's why I own a studio and my own production company. This book, I got a bad deal when I was in Miami, and I came home with my tail between my legs, and someone had gifted me this book before I left, and I never read it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, whatever, cool. Thank you for thinking of me.
Right.
It's a great book. You know what I mean? But I was like, I have so much going on, and I always wear too many hats. So I'm like, I don't have time for this. I read this in a little cabin on, is it Messalonsky? Is that the lake in Oakland? I don't know. One of the lakes.
Yeah.
And maybe it's Long Pond. I don't know. And it changed my life. Dawn is like debatably the most famous music attorney, entertainment lawyer.
Yeah.
And this is littered with people, like quotes from, like, I'm sure some of your heroes, definitely some of mine, saying like they almost wish Dawn didn't give all this info out, because there's so much. Now I know it's a big book. It's a big read. But I know Nate's very interested in a lot of the management stuff too. 100%. I'm telling you guys, this book, it's not a hard read. Dawn's really cool. Like, it's very flippant. It's fun for how much info's in it.
Yeah.
It is unreal. It's this is like a Berkeley degree in a book. So for you guys,
thank you.
Of course, the least I could do. And I wanted to ask you, because I'm always so neurotic that I have bullet points I want to hit. It's rare that people get a chance to talk long form like this. Do you think there's something that you want to say?
Ooh.
Like, is there like something you wish press had touched on and haven't yet? Because podcasts are so chill. It's like
they're so chill.
Say whatever you want.
What
We're just hanging.
Like to say? Actually, I have been asked this question before recently, and I feel like I didn't answer it as smoothly as I wanted to. So I'll say the same thing, but better. Being from Maine specifically.
Sure.
I mean, I've done everything from work on a pig farm in the dead of winter to gardening and getting like the worst sunburn I've ever gotten. And then,
girl, if you want to know about sunburns, holy God.
And, you know, I appreciated everything that Maine has to offer, and I still do. I mean, I've left Maine. I've gone to New York. I've done some stuff in LA before. I've worked with producers before. I've done all of that kind of stuff, you know, once or twice and gotten a taste of it, and I still wanted to come back here. Yeah. And so to love the place that we live, even though it's very small and not a lot happens.
Everything has drawbacks.
And everything's 2 hours away. Yeah. It shouldn't limit you. No. There is always a way to shoot for the stars and do the things that you want to do. Absolutely. With pride from where you came from.
Right.
Whether
and not
it's Maine, Guatemala, your roots, you know. It's you always take like what made you with you, or else you're going to get lost. Yeah, and I
could not agree more. It's not a mistake that I came back home either. You know, it's like it was on purpose. I love here. And I think you're right. I think I said to you before we went live, like, it's a big ask for a lot of the guests that we have booked, even for you guys. I mean, I know 2 hours is a long drive, but some people are coming from Texas, some people are coming from California this summer. I mean, we've got people coming in, and it's not lost on me that this is so far to travel. Like, this is in the middle of nowhere for these people, but it's like, you can only really complain so much about there not being enough vibe and culture where you're at without doing something.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And like, it sounds a little self-serving, but I really do love that about this is it's like, anyone can do this. Right. You don't need this kind of setup to do a podcast. Mm-hmm. Like Kelsey was saying to a friend of mine that wants to start one, she's like, then start one.
Yeah.
You just got to do it. And it's kind of exactly what you're saying with music. Part of my mental struggles also worked on the opposite end, like growing up too ambitious, believing in miracles, but being crazy enough to make them happen, some of them. Yeah. And I think that's what it takes. It's like, you have to be open to these things. And like you said, go for them. Mm-hmm. And this is really crucial. And thank you for saying what you said, because I wouldn't have thought of this. Just because you don't know, and I'm not talking to you, just because you don't know the way your success could and will come doesn't mean it won't. And it doesn't mean you have to know it. That is such a huge point. People think, you wouldn't believe how many people I get DMs from that because I post now about the studio. Mm-hmm. Before, no one even knew about it. And it's like, I'm very private, but it's in posting it, people are like, my nephew, my son, my brother is so extremely talented. Mm-hmm. I just realized those were all males accidentally. My niece, my mom, my aunt is so talented. They don't know what to do.
Right.
Sometimes you shouldn't. Mm-hmm. Right? Sometimes the best thing to do is refine, mm-hmm. and put yourself out there. Yep. Let things unfold, And I think there's an anxiety in that and not knowing what to do. But it's good. Things prepare you, and things will happen as they should when they should.
Of course. I mean, I didn't plan to audition for CMI or Idol.
And look at this. Our girl's killing it. Mm. Dude, I love this. All right. I don't want to wrap this because I want to talk to you forever, but we have to have music time. We have to. It's going to be so much fun. I always ask every guest, and I should say, as people know that watch it, we ask every guest what they'd like to drink because I love drinks. And Julia's so chill. She's like, whatever, dog.
Whatever, man.
Like, whatever you got, bro. I was like, oh, you're too good. Are those good? Or are they weird?
They are good.
Are they good? They're so good in terms of like, I am chronically dehydrated because I don't drink enough water. And they're incredible. I ask every guest that comes on to try to stimulate a little culture push. And do you guys want to answer too for fun? Do it. Pull that mic off that clip. I want all the answers just for fun. All right. I ask everybody for culture, right? We're going to start with books or written mediums. Everyone's take on, and it doesn't even matter. It doesn't have to be like everyone feels put on the spot like it's going to be the best book in their opinion. Give me any book. We'll start with you guys that you think people should read like they're sleeping on, or article or periodical or website or blog.
Nate's like crapping himself.
Nate's like, dude, I'm leaving, bro.
Since first grade.
So I'll go first. I've literally been trying to finish this one book since 2020.
Maybe not a good book then.
I mean, that's all I can think of. So okay. I think I have no good suggestions.
Oh, Finn wanted to chime in. What book is it? What is that one?
It's called Sharp Objects. It's a really dark book.
Did we see that movie? Is that a movie? Maybe not.
I can't. I think it might be. Yeah.
Okay. Nate, you're like, bro, no.
So I haven't written an actual book
yeah
in a hot minute.
Music law.
I did read that. That is a good book.
That was good.
But,
okay.
I did think of one. It is a comic book.
Ooh, I love comic books.
DC's Heroes in Crisis.
Ooh. I don't even know if I've heard of it.
It's a very, very good read. It's basically just all about the social and mental capacity of superheroes.
Ooh.
But it can be applied to actual mental health issues.
Dude, I need to get back into the comic game. I was a Marvel fanboy long before the movies. Proud, baby. Oh, that's a great pick. Yeah. Look, and we thought he'd have nothing. Jay, hit me.
My favorite book has been the same for a really long time. It's Black Klansman. Have you ever read that?
Wait, is that what the movie's based on? The movie's fantastic.
So good. And it's pretty close to the book.
Which is rare.
Yeah.
Adam Driver is,
I love it. I mean, I think it speaks to a lot of the things that I personally went to, kind of feeling imposter syndrome, but also like you need to be that person for yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
Like nobody else around Maine, unfortunately, for me, was gonna stand up and be the role model that I needed to see. So I had to do it myself.
I have a tattoo going up my ribs. You know what it says?
What?
Be the source.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes.
You want to be happy? Be happiness.
Mm-hmm.
You want a hero? Be your hero.
Yep.
That's all you can do. I don't follow it. I fail every day. I see it every day, and I'm like, yeah, okay. But I do love, and I have to say before I get mine, the level of like how aloof, was it David Duke? Was that the character? And like how the message that like how much he loved the undercover guy, like because he didn't know.
Yep.
It's such a smack in the face, and I think it's great. It's a masterclass in filmmaking. I love that movie. I know you said book, but the movie's fantastic. My book, this is such a cop-out because I've already said this before, but because I'm giving it to you, all you need to know about the music industry, the music business, rather. It's fantastic, changed my life, and everyone should read it. I think Jewel talked about this recently on a podcast, and it was like a moment like, oh my God, I'm everybody. The singer? Yeah. She had read it. She was gifted it too. And when she was like living in her car, and it like changed the way she approached music. It turned music into a business that wasn't too big to chew.
Yeah.
And it makes all the difference. All right, Hill and Nate, a movie or a visual medium. It could be a TV show. What? Don't. Love is Blind? Yeah, I know it.
I was literally going to say that.
Are you serious?
I was literally going to say that.
Are you serious?
Were you going to say that?
I was going to say that, but I thought of it.
No, everyone was going to say.
We literally just started watching it, Monday?
Yeah.
And like staying up late watching it. I'm obsessed.
Kelsey has slept maybe 3 hours a night about it.
No, everyone's name. I'm into all the drama. We're on season 1.
Kelsey came into my studio yesterday and goes, Jessica's a bitch. And I was like, is someone you work with? And she's talking about a girl on the show. I'm like, don't know all of their names. Like,
and I'm so bad with names, but I know all their names. I'm invested.
All right, you know what? We're gonna leave it at that. I'm Love is Blind.
I'm Love is Blind.
Oh wait, if you go with something different, I'm gonna go with something different, bro.
I was actually gonna suggest people watch My Dinner with Andre.
Ooh.
It's a really good movie.
My Dinner with Andre.
It's basically just a movie, but in the format of a podcast.
Ooh.
It's just this guy that sits down and just has a conversation with this other guy that went and did a whole bunch of stuff with his life, and they just talk.
I like it.
And that's all it is for the whole movie.
Dude, as you can tell, I love talking. Like, we know, dude, you don't stop. Because you had a different one, I'm going to say one that kind of blew my mind. Have you guys ever heard of or seen, I think it's called Jim and Andy, when Jim Carrey played Andy Kaufman?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you got to watch it. Talk about tortured artist. It's very much in that vein, like kind of what we were saying. It's really, really good. Last but not least, because we have to, music, starting with you, Kels. It can be a record, it can be an artist, it can be a song, it doesn't matter. There's no rules.
Oh my God.
Something you think people are sleeping on.
I don't know.
Nothing?
I'm getting like nervous. I can't think of anything.
Dude, anything. Give me something.
Oh God.
You love Phoebe Bridgers lately.
Okay.
Garden Song.
Yeah.
You've been playing it on repeat.
And then that other one that you showed me, but I think you said it on another podcast, the I used to be 17 one.
Oh, Sharon Van Etten. Yeah. That's a fantastic song.
Or, okay, I know this one is probably really old, and like I said, I'm bad with names except for on Love is Blind.
I know, notoriously terrible with famous people's names.
I like know all their names. The one, what's his name? Noah Kahn. Yeah. That's from Pretty Little Liars. Okay.
Stick Season? Yeah.
So I was going to say Noah Kahn.
No.
Noah Kahn
Dude, did we just become best friends?
Noah Kahn is pretty much all I've been listening to recently.
Dude, he's so good.
The only thing
that
we've been
is
listening to.
Jesus, like, yeah, he's so good.
That is what I'm starting to base my playing style off of, is Noah Kahn.
Okay.
I love the singer-songwriter folk sound that he has.
Yeah, sure.
And I love his writing.
Okay. Dude, I love this. I love these picks. All right, Julia, I think people are going to...
I need to know the name of the song. I literally just stopped touching you.
Finny.
Is it the one we've been listening to?
Which one?
The Labor?
Yes. How do you know? Because I've been playing on repeat. The song Labor.
Okay.
It's a single by Paris Paloma. Check it out.
Giving us homework.
It is so
incredible.
So I was telling him, we were like, every time we listen to it in the car, I like hit the steering wheel. I'm like, I wish I wrote that.
Oh,
it's like one of those.
Don't you love those?
Literally, I was like, I don't think that about anyone except for Noah Khan. But I like, I listened to that song and I'm like, I could have done it, but I wouldn't have done it as well.
Dude, I know this, where there's been a few songs in my lifetime that I've heard and I've been like, I could have fucking done this.
Mm-hmm.
This thing, I could have done it. And it's like, you beat me to it.
Yep.
My pick is going to be something that I have been relentlessly listening to on repeat, and it is a song called Fall by a killer group called Chocolate Milk. And dude, it's so good.
Oh my god.
Check it out on Spotify because these guys are the infamous duo Chocolate Milk. And you know, I just realized this. I told Kelsey last night, because our new thing I think will set us apart from others, because we have the capability to record, is to do. Have you ever seen Daryl's house? So, you know, Hall & Oates?
Yeah.
So Daryl brings famous bands in. He doesn't have a podcast, but he brings from Goo Goo Dolls to you name it, everybody, and has his house band play with them. It's really dope. Dude, you should check it out. But I'm like, we could do that. Why not? But then, so last night I'm like listening to your stuff, trying to learn it. And I was like, wait a minute. It's not Julie Gagnon's Chocolate Milk, dude.
Yep.
So I got to play, Nate, you got to play with us, bro.
Absolutely.
Yes.
He's like, yes.
I can just accompany. I can play leads and stuff. It'd be fun. I could talk to you for 5 hours. You are a complete delight.
Oh,
did you have fun?
I did.
Was it everything you expected?
It was everything I expected.
Girl.
And more.
Oh, you make my heart sing. Guys, watch, support, vote, retweet, share, comment, interact, right?
Yep.
We want the activity. Show Idol that Maine doesn't fuck around, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to bleep that. That's how serious I am, okay? Thanks so much for tuning in. We will link all the fun links below. Please follow, subscribe, do all the fun things and all the fun places. I have been Daniel. This is the wonderful Julia Gagnon.
Yeah.
You will be seeing much more of her. You're going to come back sometime, maybe?
100%.
Yes! We will see y'all next time.